Welcome to the 60th edition of Women's Wrestling Weekly, the show. I am Kyle Klingman, joined by Scott Beck. Two pieces of big news just dropped. Number one, Kent State adds a Division One wrestling program. Absolutely had no idea this was coming. Other coaches said they had no idea this was coming, but I think this is big news. Starting the 2027 season, we get another Division One program, moving that up to seven. Of course, Mike Moyer, the executive director at the NWCA, had known about this for 2 years, but the rest of us were left in the dark. This is big news that we have a Division One wrestling program in the state of Ohio.
Yeah, I had no clue whatsoever, and I saw that news pop, and I was very excited, and I think it's great, perfect area to have one. Obviously, a hotbed of wrestling, and that's exciting stuff. And it would be great if there's like a bunch of these, behind the scenes, which I'm sure many are going on, discussions, and Moyer is probably doing his work, but that's great, and we'll see. Maybe we'll get some other pleasant surprises.
Love the surprises because when you get a Tarleton State who it's been teased for a couple years now, I hope they're getting that to the finish line because we've been talking about it. You cannot waste the talents of Jason Mormon, who's a four-time national championship coach, who's there with the club. You have to get him into a situation where he can thrive, and the only way he can do that, if it's a sanctioned program, it would be Division One. I think there's just some hangups on other sports moving up where it would be potentially in the Pac-12 or another conference, but let's just hope that gets to the finish line. We need Tarleton State. That would add that Texas component, which we desperately need to have a program there.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure that's, happening. But yeah, it's but I like how the late additions, Tarleton State, which, should be, soon, and then Ohio, you have Lehigh in the East. I like that we're spreading it around geographically, and then hopefully other schools will build around that.
Can't say I'm surprised about the next piece of news. Everest Leydecker, who's a U20 world champion, she reached Final X this year. She will be attending the University of Iowa. She is one of those transcendent recruits. You know, she's plug and play. She's going to go in and be dominant immediately, I would assume, at 124 pounds for the Hawkeyes. This is a Kylie Welker type get. I don't know historically because you didn't really make announcements this way. Maybe you go back to Oklahoma City getting Christy Davis when she was in her late 20s, 30s, and she was already a two-time world champion. Maybe that's a comparable for the NCAA era. Now that we're in this new era, this is the biggest recruit since this has become the 91st NCAA championship sport. Everest Leydecker is that.
I think that I was gonna help me achieve my Olympic and world aspirations and just get me get me better, improve over the next 4 years, and I hope that I can help them win national titles for the next 4 years that I'm there.
She's obviously phenomenal, and she just keeps getting better. I mean, she trains with Michaela, and she's just a student of sport, works really hard, obsessed with wrestling. Her accolades are amazing for her age. She's just immediately going to be an absolute hammer. I'm not surprised. Not that I had like inside track knowledge or even asked, but um, I'm not surprised though because it's just a good room that just from top to bottom, coaching wise, and then part wise. There's a lot of athletes. You'll have other accoladed seniors in the club. With Macy Kilty there. Obviously the Gonzalez's are lighter, but and then Sean and Verbeek and Gary. I mean, it's just a solid room. I would have expected nothing less, and I think she will be a rock star in Iowa City.
She reminds me of Dan Gable in a way, just the absolute focus on wrestling and just loves the sport. And I don't know where she is on outside interests on things. I know Gable, there, I love some of the stories about,
Wrestling.
yeah, I know, but I love some of the stories about Gable where he wouldn't know anything. He wouldn't know who the president was. He would only know one route, and that was the Carver Hawk Arena. He didn't know how to get other places in Iowa City. I don't know if Everest is that, but I love that she is an absolute student of the sport. She's locked in on this, and she's wrestling obsessed, and so are we. And so that fits into what we like. So I think this is a perfect fit. I mean, I think she's already a star. She can do whatever she wants right now. She had a blank ticket to go to whatever college she wants, and she really is that top end recruit that makes a difference in a program. With that, we had something special happening. She was there during the Ukraine visit, and we talked last show about Josh Schamberger and what he's doing with the Think Iowa City and bringing in unique events. This was a friendly between Ukraine and different athletes. There was some University of Iowa athletes and some Team USA athletes. I didn't get a chance to watch since I was traveling to Beast of the East, but I think you had a chance to look at the results and see what was happening. They didn't have weigh-ins, but I think this is a good concept to get some of that high-level competition.
Ukraine's had a pretty good team. I mean, so, we kind of got beat up a little bit, but if you look down the line, I mean, Levac at 53 beat Palumbo 4-0. Levac is a world bronze medalist. Filipovic is up and coming young one who's very good, who pinned Martinez. Then you had the Vinnick twins. It's kind of funny. The little one was like a 53, but she'd always been injured, Maria, and now she's the big one. So she, took second in the world at 59, and then she beat Carly Brooks by tech fall, and Solemna, who is yet to win a senior world medal, wrestled in a bunch of them, but took U23 silver in 21, and I think gold in 23 and 24. So 3 times senior, U23, which is a kind of senior tournament. But she's beaten some good people. Then you had Kolodenko, Tech Laramendi at 62. Kolodenko is a Olympic bronze, Olympic silver. And then Kilty had the one win by fall over Ryback. And then Skolaska beat Brooklyn Hayes. Skovalevska beat Brooklyn Hayes 4-1. And then Sokolovska. I'm butchering those. I'm sorry, but won by fall over Ali at 76 kilos. But overall, it's good to have the friendlies. I'm glad Ukraine came, hoping one of these days this stupid war ends, and Ukraine can travel more freely and just live their lives. But good to see that they came here and they sent a solid team.
As we talk about the University of Iowa and the opportunities they have, I don't know if there's another program that has a situation like this where not only do you have the infrastructure, you have a beautiful facility, but you have a lot of these Team USA events happening. I don't know that that happens at any other college.
Yeah, and I don't know what the structure of the trip was, to be honest with you. I mean, I think in a perfect world, it would be great down the road, if you have some of these dual meets maybe on the East Coast in Lehigh, and then the teams can come and spend a couple of days in New York City, my stomping ground, just to see the USA, because the Midwest and Midwest, but maybe they stop at Chicago. I don't know, but I think it's a great thing. Obviously, Iowa is sacred wrestling ground, and and those facilities and the community support are phenomenal. So that is Wrestling USA, and it's great that they host this stuff at these friendlies, and we got to keep doing more of that.
We just had Beast of the East in Newark, Delaware. There were 2 Division I duels that took place. You had Presbyterian beat Frostburg State 34-6, and then Delaware State won its first duel since it's become a Division I program. They beat Greensboro 34-4. What was interesting, though, is before the high school finals, what was interesting to me is if you take the best girl from each of the college programs and match them up in a comparable weight to the best girl at Beast of the East, I'm saying that the high school division would win over the college division. I think this is interesting because of where the women's wrestling space is right now and how good the high school has gotten and the exponential growth of girls high school wrestling and how it's really gotten to that point where they are so hyper good. I mean, look at the names, Scott, that you have there. Jacqueline Bazakis, we know what she can do. Taina Fernandez, Violet Leisure, Ella Poalillo, Sienna Okocha, Caroline Hatala. So if you go down there and you just say, we're just going to take the best ones, I would put my money on the high schoolers.
Those are some big names. And it's no different, to be honest with you, in the men's sport, where some of the high school hammers are immediately, but against all but the top college wrestlers, and in some cases, even the top college wrestlers. The high schoolers are immediately just forces when they go in and are beating some of the big names in high school. So it just shows the growth of the sport, where the younger athletes are just developing so much earlier, and they're getting individual coaching, they're getting sponsors, they have videos, they have private coaches, they're competing at a high level early, and obviously of those names, Taina Fernandez is pretty much transcendent, I would say, and she's of the Everest Leydecker category, if not probably done more at a younger age in terms of some of the people she had beaten earlier. But we were just looking and thinking about it. It's like she just obviously dominates, and she's willing to take good competition, move up weight classes. Who knows where she'll ultimately slide in? But I think the interesting thing about Fernandez, she just wrestles so aggressive in that attacking honey badger style we talk about. She is not going to be fun for Japan to wrestle. Whenever she and she's done very well against Japan already, that style, maybe against the top ones who are just so technically sound, if she makes a mistake or two, they can capitalize on it, but they don't like that type of style. They're more methodical. You might have some, Anishi kind of wrestled a honey badger style, and Takahara is very different from the others, but the others like the controlled, methodical, positional style. And I think Fernandez, with a constant attacking, and just as she gets better and better, with more and more tightening of some things, she's got a massive repertoire and just attacks a lot. That's going to give Japan trouble down the road.
I think a lot of times you do have to remind yourself that she still is only 16. We've talked about her accolades and who she's beat along the way. Once you just start taking that into account, that she is only 16 and she's going to continue. She hasn't even wrestled on the U20 level yet. And so she's wrestled seniors at College Open. She's not even eligible. So I think we have to continue to remind ourselves that she's still only 16.
I mean, the only comparisons, just in my head, it's almost like Yui Sasaki and Fujinami, when you're just waiting for them to be able to wrestle at the senior level because they were just obliterating everybody. And the second they could, they won world and Olympic titles. I mean, I'm not trying to put that pressure saying she's ready to win world and Olympic titles, but she's certainly ready to compete at the next level. And it's going to be exciting to see because it's mind-boggling that she's 16, to be honest.
A few of the high school girls said, "Yeah, I'm going to watch it, but I've already beaten some of the girls that were on the team." So it's an interesting trend that we have here, where you're going to watch D1 college duels, and this is just what's happening. This is how the growth happens. But we have said that it's going to grow at a different pace, different speed, and this is what you're seeing right now: is how you're getting the competition earlier, you're getting started earlier, you're getting the great training earlier, and this is how it's going to play out. And really no surprise at this point.
No, it's not. And, before you can beat somebody, and I don't want to say lack of respect, but you have to look at them as somebody you could beat them. So, the idea that the college girls looking at the high school girls looking at the college girls and saying, I've already beaten them, or I've beaten people of that caliber. Yeah, that's the first barrier. You can't put somebody in a different category. You have to, view yourself as at their level, which, trust me, these girls do.
And you just even look at 14-year-old Camilla Hathaway. She got the opening takedown against Ella Poalillo.
I don't know. I wasn't really worried at any point, after I got taken down. I think I went into the match kind of not overconfident, but I knew who I am, and she was different than a lot of the girls that I wrestled in the past. Definitely, a lot of girls don't shoot on me, so I definitely got to get back to working on that. And I don't know. At no point when I was like, okay, I lost. I'm not gonna say that until the very last second if I do lose, but I was confident. When she chose neutral, third period, I was like, all right, I got this, and I was able to just put something together, which I don't do. I never do that. I don't even think I've hit that move since probably 6th grade, so I don't know. Always hope for girls to shoot on me, because a lot of times it's me pushing the pace, and even New Jersey, states, it's always me pushing the pace. It's always me, standing up a little bit so they shoot, or me having to snap them and then they reshoot, and so I was really happy that I got to. She kind of wrestles like a boy, and I wrestle boys every day in practice, so I was happy that I got to wrestle her, and she had good movement and stuff, so. But I know I'm the best girl in the country, and I knew I was going to pull through. So
just shows you that a 14-year-old is now saying, "I want mine," against a U17 world bronze medalist. So they're coming at the younger ages, and they're saying, "I'm going to get it to this level earlier than some of the other ones that came before." And I know that Nebi Tsarni said that about her sister.
I want them to think they could be better than me, because I always believe that the one who comes after you is better. My little sister, she's in 8th grade. Nebi Tsarni, and she is so much better than I was when I was in 12, 13 years old wrestling. And I'm so excited to see where she goes when she gets to high school.
I have a sister that's better than I was at this age, and she saw it and saw the development. So this is a trend, and it's just fun to be part of this and to see what direction this is going.
Yeah, it's just happening younger and younger, and whatever you think makes sense, things that seem not to make sense happen, and it's just gonna get more ridiculous when we're talking about 14-year-olds competing against world medalists.
Also had the desert duels over the weekend. Just some interesting results there. But I'm interested in, will Sage Mortimer go 110 or 117? She wrestled at 117 at the desert duels. Will Sabrina Nauss for Grand Valley State, both Grand Valley State, wrestle at 180 or 207? I think this will be a big part of how Grand Valley State does. I would guess that Sage Mortimer is going to move up to 117 pounds. Have no idea if that's going to be the case, but she did wrestle that over the course of time. I think Sabrina Nauss being at 207 probably makes sense. She already has a win over Eliana Bomarito from King University. So her moving up to 207, you have Kylie Walker coming back into the mix. So I would guess they're both going to move up in weight, but we'll keep track of that as the second semester gets started.
Yeah, and just because somebody moves up a weight doesn't mean that's a permanent move either. And they may feel it out. And see, I know Mortimer's been up and down. We've seen, I think at the senior level, 50 is a better weight for her. But unless she continues to get bigger, I think we'll see. I think people are trying to figure it out. And you have the trade off between cutting weight and being miserable, and where you can be the most effective. And I think in a perfect world, obviously, if you can get bigger and stronger, it's better to feel comfortable. But size does matter. And we can talk about, I don't know if you want to segue into this, but we're looking in Japan. They had the what is it, the Emperor's Cup or the Meiji? I forget which one's first, but you had some very interesting results, and we can lead with Fujinami, who jumped 2 weights to 57, and she had utterly dominated everybody, winning, World Olympic titles at 53. She's got a massive win streak of well over 100 matches, hasn't lost, and she, in the semis, she beat Sarah Natami 7-4, but got exposed twice when she was up 7-0, and had a squeaker in the finals against Takahara, where she won 42 and ended the match getting pancaked and bridging on her back for the last 30 seconds. So, that is a size thing, and she's got to adjust to that. It's a difference. Fujinami is a good size 57, don't get me wrong, but they're big too, and they're cutting weight, so you see an adjustment there. It's going to take some time, but she's not, she's, I don't want to say vulnerable, but people are good. You just don't jump 2 weight classes or 1 weight class. There is adjustments, and Japan is just so deep that everybody challenges everybody, and we can go through some of the weights just broadly speaking. Sasaki dominated at 50. Good to see her back down there. Which again, at 53, she lost. Domestically. But I think the thing, you didn't have Yoshimoto as world champ or Umi Ito. Both were not in the tournament. Kyuka won at 53, took out Makeda. But we did see Haruna Kuno, another one, where I don't know if she won the Worlds there, but she wasn't back at 53. I think 62 is very interesting, where Azaki reasserted herself, and she's had trouble. She had not beaten Mitoki, and Mitoki is a world Olympic champion. At 62, she beat Onishi, who went up from 59, who's a world champ, and dominated everybody. She went up to 62, and Ozaki beat Onishi in the semis, and then beat Mitoki in the finals, which was a big win for her. 68, Miwa Murakawa kept her good run lately. She took out Ami Ishii, who's a world champ. And then at 76, the Olympic champ Kagami lost to Matsuyaka. So a lot of, world Olympic champs went down. There was some shuffling of weights, but it's just, they're very deep and very good. And it's going to be interesting seeing how things play out, as we move, through this year in the second tournament. And then we'll have some playoffs if people don't win both of them, and then what their lineup solidifies to. But Japan is going to be Japan is not going to be trivial to pass. Let's just say that they are solid across the board, and it's just a shocking concept when you see World Olympic champions go down one after another.
When you go through all that, I think the first thing that came to mind for me was in my head, I'm thinking about already what Japan's 2028 Olympic team will look like. When you're going through this, it makes me realize that there's so much up for grabs. And so when you try to predict who's going to be on the team in 3+ years, it's not a exercise that you are going to be rock solid on. It's there's going to be changes.
I don't think you can. Yeah, I don't think you can really. First of all, I think people that have minor to medium injuries are dealing with them now. That's probably why Ito pulled out. It's going to be tough to beat Sasaki, but there's all that stuff in the middle where people are going up a weight, down a weight. Who knows if Anishi says, okay, I didn't do it 62 when I thought I could. I'm going to try to drop to 57, and challenge Fujinami where I'm bigger. And she saw that Fujinami had some vulnerability. I don't know. I don't know, what happens. 62 is just insane. It's just crazy, how deep they are. So it's going to be interesting how it plays out. And I think, like you had alluded to in one of the previous episodes, I think they're trying to set themselves up to run the table and think they can win all 6 weight classes. Now, obviously, I think the odds that it happen are highly unlikely. And, I think if Elor's back, she'll have something to say about that. But, other countries have some hammers as well. And we saw how good, where North Korea is, and they're going to threaten. And we have, other athletes as well that are going to, with blades and, other. We don't know where we're going to be. And Helen looked phenomenal. Who knows how she'll be, in a few more years, if she's still competing or not. We don't know. So it's hard to predict 3 years. It's hard. A lot of the stuff that just happened this week in that tournament are hard to predict. So it's going to be very hard to see where things are in 3 years.
Let's go through some house cleaning and let's end the show with this. December 30th will be the Midlands. This should be the return of Lexi Janiak from Aurora. She is a returning national champion. We have not seen her this semester, so looking forward to see what she looks like in competition. If you have not done this, Krista Kobeski has created the ultimate college spreadsheet. We're going to put it up on the screen here, and it just shows every college competition throughout the year. You can use this. You can follow it. This is a massive undertaking. I'm using it every single day. This is a big thing to have, just to talking about growing the sport and understanding where you can go to find competitions. This is a great place to do that. So thanks to Krista for doing that. And as we talk about college programs that you've never heard of, let's go with Bluefield State College in Bluefield, West Virginia. Sam Gardner, 7 wrestlers out. I'm assuming you have not heard of this. Everyone that we've listed, you have some sort of a connection, whether it's the Marine Maritime Academy or Pennsylvania State, Altoona. I'm hoping you haven't heard of this one yet.
I have not heard of this one. Full disclosure, I never heard of it. Glad to see they're doing it. Yeah, you got me. Good one, Kyle.
And end with this. Derek Levendusky has an alter ego named Wayne Fish. He did this a few years ago. Derek Levendusky has a daughter, Joy, who's been at Southern Oregon. He did American Women's Wrestling, influential in the FloWrestling rankings for girls high school and college. I kind of knew about this, but as we were out at Beast of the East, we realized that he has a 6-song album out under Wayne Fish. It's called Bad Cut. And he has a song called Tina and Yoshida. It's about Tina George and Saori Yoshida.
Tina George took down Yoshida. She wrestled like a champ even though she didn't beat her. And if I get the chance, I'd really like to meet her. Yeah, Tina. Yeah, Tina. Let's go.
This is a great way to get wrestling history into your head because the lyrics help you understand the sport. So I want to credit Derek Levendusky for doing that because now I knew who Tina George was, but now I know her credentials even better because of this song. So you want to talk about a great way to understand the sport. Let's get more music about women's wrestling. That was pretty cool.
So here's what I did. I launched it like a rocket ship. I threw it with an inside trip, yeah, blast it till it's on the ground. The only way to take it down.
That's hilarious. And Derek's a great guy. He's always been a, great family, a bunch of daughters that wrestle. And, can't compete with that.